Hello garden gals and guys, we're here back at Fat Earth Farm again, and I just wanted to share something that I have noticed over the years just through observation. Something that you new gardeners that are starting to grow plants from seed probably need to know. It's kind of important. Okay, so I have plants that I've repotted, okay, into these kind of cardboard looking pots. They're not cardboard, but they call them cow pots or things like that. But they basically look like brown recycled material. And I have a lot of my plants that I've repotted into them. You can see all my tomatoes there. There's some kale there. I've got some basil down there in some of the pots, and even in these smaller looking ones. Okay. Those are some tomatoes, and you can see I've got my watermelons here. So what I've noticed is this. I have everything in my greenhouse now. My greenhouse tends to get pretty hot during the day. I usually open up the windows to let them get some air because it gets to well over 100 degrees in here, which even for my heat-loving plants is too hot. So, but one thing that I have noticed is when I water my plants, the plants that are in the cell packs, like this, they tend to hold moisture really well. But the plants that are in these pots, like I've watered here, but this one didn't get as much water as the rest. I'll have to re-water this one. You see how dry that is? Some of you may know this already, but for those of you that don't, especially for newer gardeners, if you go for these types of pots to either start your seeds in or to repot your seedlings in once they get too big for the cell packs, know that they do wick moisture away from the soil, and they do it very quickly. These pots tend to dry out almost every day being in the heat of the greenhouse, and that is a problem because when I say they dry out, I mean they dry out like they feel as if they were never watered. So that's just something to keep in mind when you are starting your seedlings and when you're taking care of your seedlings, that if you have them in pots like these, you're going to need to keep an eye on them as far as water goes and make sure that they maintain even moisture. Because, again, this material really does wick the moisture away from the soil, and it does it fairly quickly. And it seems to be adversely impacting a few of my plants that don't tend to be water hogs. They don't like to be watered all the time. Like, for instance, my watermelons. You would think watermelons like to be watered all the time, but actually they don't. And having to water them pretty much kind of every day because they're just getting way too dry in these pots, it's kind of having a little bit of an effect on the plant itself. The leaves are kind of not where they should be for how old they are. So I'm probably going to take these watermelons and transplant them into pots that are more like this one, which is plastic. And I will probably switch to transplanting into plastic pots like this from now on, from the cell packs to the planted to the plastic pots like this from now on, because I just don't like the way that these pots wick away the moisture. So that's my gardening tip for today. Until next time, garden gals and guys, happy gardening.